ladies and gentlemen, as we welcome you to Tier 1 Baku Round 10, final round of the Azerbaijan Street Circuit. We've had some interesting Tier 3 and Tier 2 racing. We've got the quick boys tonight, so it should be a lot of fun on Baku night. Obviously, the real life F1 starting in about 4 hours' time, so it should be a good race in real life along with the game. But yeah, fantastic to have your company, Scotty, in the comms box alongside JP. JP, how are you on this lovely Sunday afternoon?
In the comms box by yourself, Scotty. It is a pleasure to be back here in Inter's Tier 1. But man, oh man, we can talk about the Azerbaijan races that have taken place so far. But how about we have a little dive into Imola last week, because that was an intriguing race. Had a safety car right near towards the very end of the race. Aiden Rizium's going onto the soft compound tyres and making the most of it, making multiple positions, just not close enough to Meowsy, of course, McJammy Dodge, and found himself in P2, but a very respectful position for the end of the race. McLaren barely holding on to P1 in the constructors by 10 points to VCarb, with Ferrari 20 points off VCarb and 30 points off the P1 position of McLaren. Yusuf Goat, another one who apparently is driving tonight, just going through the list, may have gone out of that, but he is out with an injury, with a fractured ankle. So unfortunately, the VCarb driver just out with a few injuries from what we picked up in Imola. Of course, the man of the hour, McJammy Dodge, the Italian stallion, as one may say, in Ferrari. He picked up the win in both the sprint and the feature race. No fastest laps though, so nearly scoring maximum points, and he's brought the gap down to 47 points to Websy, who picked up P2 in the sprint and P4 in the feature race. But enough waffling from me. There's your recap of Imola, and now let's get into qualifying for Azerbaijan.
So, as you can see, dry conditions for qualifying this afternoon and full grid. But we do, as we said off the top, got a few reserves in tonight, so it should be interesting to see how they go. The likes of eBay Boy, Leonard P, who was super quick last night, unfortunately picked up a drive-through under the VSC, which hurt his race, but Little Sheldon as well looks super quick, especially in qualifying, and a couple of others as well. But yeah, this should be a fascinating afternoon of racing, JP. And as I said, Meowsy off the double win last time out in Imola, he's definitely looking quick. I was in a little practice session with him just prior, and his quality run was super quick, so he's definitely one to keep an eye out on tonight.
It's all about confidence at the end of the day, and for a man who picked up both wins in the sprint and the feature race, that's what the Ferrari needs, and especially in this part of the championship. You know, it isn't like we've got all the rounds in the world. Obviously, we come into round 10 here at Azerbaijan for the end of the week of IRL racing that we've had so far, and, you know, Ferrari just needs to keep on their current consistency, on their current push that they've had so far. I mean, incredible season, but he's still just a bit behind Websy at the moment. If Websy struggles and McJammy Dodge does well again, then that 47-point deficit can come down by another significant margin and can make this championship more possible for the Ferrari driver. We knew he needed to score important points, and he's done it last week. He just needs to do it again. But out in qualifying for the time being, everyone's kind of getting out on their outlaps, but it looks to be the first man to start to push around seems to be the Kick Sauber of, I believe that's going to be Ludozzi, who is filling in for the teammate of Sir Joshi. Unsure who that may have been. I knew Sir Joshi filled in a seat mid-season, but on the medium compound tyres, interestingly, Scotty.
Yeah, obviously, maybe a few of these drivers just not wanting to completely burn all three sets of their sauce, but we'll have a look and see how Ludozzi actually does on this medium run. As obviously 2 DRS zones down the long start finish straight and through in between turn 2 and 3, as we see him come through, getting just a little slidey off the exit. We come into this tight end of the first sector around turn number 4, and this is where, if you've got a little bit more downforce on the car, this is where you're going to find a little bit of speed It's pretty much single file through here unless someone has a big moment off one of these exits. As we come around turn 7, just keeps it off the wall, but here's the tightest part of the circuit, the castle section. Not a lot of crashes actually over the course of the weekend. It's been turn 15, which we'll come to shortly, that's been providing a lot of the issues for a few of these drivers, but we got the flat out triple right hand, you can say, and now this is turn 15. Just manages to keep it off the wall. Obviously that curb on the inside just makes it a little bit tougher as he goes, obviously the purple middle sector, obviously the first one on the hot lap, as pretty much 18 and 19 are pretty much nothing corners with the amount of downforce these cars have, and there's that little kinker turn 20, that's always flat out. But you'll have the DRS all the way to the line. A lot of guys running out of deployment when they get to the DRS zone, but Ladozi goes a 40.3 to 1. But I'm expecting
the Williams of Finn's up next in there, and goes a 1:38.522. Apologies for the interruption, of course. But Williams setting down a solid time, as we mentioned, into turn 15. A few incidents, and going over that curb that's quite elevated. You don't really want to get your floor stuck on there. But to be honest, to answer your statement before about, not many cars crashing throughout this weekend, I think there's just this extra caution around Azerbaijan. I mean, it is such a tight, close circuit, hard braking points, especially around turn 1 and turn 2, and even a hard braking point going into the castle section. There's just this extra weariness about every single driver, just needing to make sure they stay as cautious as possible to not make any mistakes or cause any incidents on circuits. Aiden Rizium's in the Haas goes P2 with a 38.627. He'll be happy with that one. Sir Joshi as well in the kick Sauber does fall down a few positions to P3 from his time, but Finn's holding on for the time being, and I think that's another driver that's kind of fallen out of the limelight a little bit. Finn's is P3 in the championship, and he's only 31 points off Meowsy, and he's picked up 2 wins in the season, but of course the man of the hour, Websy and Tyler FF, going faster with a 38.0 and a 38.5, 5/10 deficit.
Yeah, that was a hell of a lap time from Webster. We saw the 2 Ferraris. I think it was Cam that was the one that was getting the big tow from his teammate. But yeah, Websy half a second clear, and unless you got a tow somewhere else in the lap, that was just straight pace from the McLaren driver. So there's a reason he's leading this championship, and that is why. Obviously, McJemmy obviously helping his teammate, so he'll obviously come in to get a bit of running. But I was going to say Vince, the first one to set a good banker, was actually quicker than the Tier 2 pole. 38.6 was the time yesterday. So already we're through that and past that as checkered flag with the tow from his teammate.
So, yeah.
First man to the 37, so fantastic from checkered flag and great teamwork from both him and Yusuf.
Yeah, no, exactly the point I was going to bring up. A incredible slipstream that was going down that back straight, or more specifically the pit straight. It's a bit of both. Realistically, they do count as corners as you get out of the exit of turn 16, but yeah, no, that was an incredible effort by the V-Carb team. Great positioning, and that is an incredible diamond to set down to 37.935. And realistically, if you're going to find improvements, you need to rely on your teammate to do so. There's a few other drivers who may have invalidated on their first run out, or going on their first run for the first time. I saw an improvement. I believe that was Mertz in the Alpine going up to P8, so not bad job from the Alpine. But eBay Boy in the Red Bull just in the second now, going into the third sector. Let's go on board with the Red Bull in P19. Currently entering into turn 16. You do want to avoid that inside curve. It is a bit elevated. You don't want to get your floor stuck on that, otherwise you will grind across it and lose the ability to kind of turn in the direction you would want flat through it all, but you need to be very precise on where you position the cars, otherwise you will hit that barrier and it will be game over in both qualifying or potentially the race, depending on the situation. Even harder in the race due to the weight from the fuel, but eBay Boy with a 48.56, and that really does start to show you how close the deficit is and how quick these drivers are in Tier 1. A 37.935 is P1. You get a 48.56, you're down in P18. Really does show you the levels here in Tier 1.
Yeah, as we watch KLX coming across the line, puts in a very, very solid time of 38.9, chucks himself right inside the top 10. His teammate, Mercy, good to see Mercy back on the Tier 1 grid. Maybe doesn't quite have the pace to stay here as Websy rejoins, thankfully. So we'll just keep an eye on that. Hopefully we can keep Websy in the session. and he doesn't have too many issues tonight. I think that who was that? Someone I know moved up, or it was Ladozi. I think moved up, or someone moved up. But McJemmy is the one that I want to see what his lap time is. How's Farmer Sam going? This is on a lap, so Farmer Sam currently 13th. Getting the Aston Martin find themselves inside the top 10. They most certainly can. P5,
Wow.
38.5 on another run on those soft compounded tyres too. So as you said before, not sure if it was an invalidation. It was just probably maybe a bit more of a scruffier lap on his first attempt. So good lap time for Farmer Sam. Right in contention with Tyler, but it's actually the top two, Checken and Websy, that actually got a healthy margin over the rest of the field at the moment.
What I'm really intrigued by is this Ferrari of McJammy Dodge. P20, the only driver to not set down a time. He was on the intermediates and was helping out with a nice tow for GLX Cam in P12, but now we get to see what the big man himself can do. Obviously, as I mentioned, the Italian stallion in Imola picked up both the sprint and feature race win and took pole position as well going into both races. So realistically, this is important for McJammy Dodge. As I mentioned, in the championship, there's still a 47-point deficit, and you know, Webbsy in P2, he's in a good position, but McJammy, he needs to be no lower than P1. He needs to be at the top spot. He needs every opportunity he can get to maximize the points. Otherwise, this is Webbsy's championship to win, and McJammy Dodge leaving the session. So not exactly the situation you want to be in, as I'm about him, and he's unfortunately disconnected. I'll try and get him back into the session, but Ludosi's pulling on his fast lap at the moment.
So I hope that doesn't completely shit the lobby. Hopefully it doesn't, but obviously Dodge will have a little bit of time left, but his AI car has pitted him, so thankfully he hasn't gone out and actually burnt that set of tyres. But as we watch, Ladozi's found a couple of tenths in the middle, or in the first sector, apologies, as he has rejoined, so we will have another host. I'm just hoping that the host... that was a bit of a touch from Ladozi. He's got picked up minor front wing damage. It's not shown on the end plate, but on my little database it is. But coming through the castle and now up over the little crest and around the flat out left-handers, coming down the hill to turn 15. Wow. Trying to carry as much speed as he could through there. Turn 16, all important to get this corner right, because you carry all this speed down to the start-finish line. It was a solid line through there from Ladozi, so you'll have pretty much one little kink and then a bit of DRS. We'll have a look and see when that red light flashes on his rear. So you can sort of tell when the deployment ends. It has ended there, so can the Sauber move themselves up? They can into P15, 39.5, but he's only about 3-4 tenths off of Mertz's time, who's currently sitting just inside the top 10. Who else have we got? The McLaren.
Well, VCARB was kind of giving a toe to another, but Lil Sheldon across the line, a 39.410, 3.5 tenths improvement, and goes up to P15, but not too much time being found, unfortunately. It is a really tough circuit. At different points, you need to really maximize each and every corner, especially in Tier 1 above all else. But Yusuf Goat P12, so he is actually driving to... He must be on the controller. That fractured ankle would not be good for braking or throttle, depending on if it's the left or right leg. But he's going along here. He's in P12. He's ahead of a lot of other drivers. You know what? He's soldiering on here, and you've got to respect the VCARB driver for doing so. Cam also in the Ferrari pushing along. Lots of drivers setting down times. And I believe the next person to go along and cross the checkered timing line, was K5M5, or maybe unsure on that, but I think it was Sawzity.
Yeah, apologies. It was definitely K5, but it was Fins with the toe from his teammate Letter P, puts him on provisional pole, finds himself 2 tenths ahead of checkered flag. It was a great toe. You could just see as we crossed board, as he crossed the line. So very solid lap for Fins, and yeah, great teamwork we've seen from a few of these teams as well. Like Letter P is spun around. I was going to say that obviously only a reserve for tonight, but he was always going to try and help as he is a Williams Tier 2 driver. But yeah, Letter P just having to recover. So thankfully I don't think he blocked anybody, as Webbsy's now back in. Hopefully he can stay in maybe with this new lobby host. But we're going to ride on board. Oh, who was that? Yusuf finds himself
Yusuf,
in
yeah.
P4, so both RBs as
Wow.
well. So if Yusuf's got a bit of an injury, it's definitely not showing in terms of pace-wise
No.
because he's only about 4 tenths off of the front row at the moment. So solid effort from Yusuf. But it's going to be McJammy that we want to watch as he comes through the middle sector, gives the wall a little bit of a touch. And obviously that lag out would have cost him a little bit for just under 5 minutes left to go in the session. So it's got to be close. If he can get another run, he might have to do a run, cool off, and another run depending on how he goes for his sector times. Oh, that was a bit of a scruffy exit through turn 7 though. And he's really trying to hustle the car. And I think just that lobby disconnect has just put a little bit more pressure on him than we would have liked. So I think it's going to be a tough call whether or not he actually completes this lap or not. We'll obviously have to check the second sector line.
Oh,
And
my Jesus.
just sending it through. As I said, I should have. I wish I had the onboard shot from there, but absolutely sending it. He did set the purple on his
Purple, yeah.
on the track map, but I'd love to see how he goes. He's absolutely pushing this car, the Ferrari driver.
Hustling it.
So obviously, Fins has retired, so he feels like
in the pit lane.
He feels he can't go any quicker. But without the toe, what does the
P4.
Ferrari do? That's a solid effort, and that was a scruffy lap too, and just still put it up in P4. That's a solid effort from the championship contender.
Wow, that was an incredible lap time to watch, especially going into turn 15. I thought it was all over. I mean, the amount of momentum he was carrying, I'm thinking it's done for. Right into the barrier, he's going to lose his will. It's gone. His will hub is going to be dismantled. But he kept it together, barely. He did scrape along the barrier, but that was an impeccable lap. I mean, it was scruffy in the beginning, especially through the first two sectors, but that third sector just came alight for the Ferrari driver. He knew he made the mistakes, he knew he needed to find improvements, and he does exactly that. But here is where I need to see a bit more of a rhetorical question that will be answered on the circuit. What does McJammy Dodge do now? There's 2 minutes 50 on the clock. He can't come back into the pit lane now. And he's on one lap hold tires, plus he has less battery, and he really needs to try and get as much back as possible for most likely going once again. I mean, he could go for a double cooldown. He'd make it back in time, except maybe not. 2 minutes 30 is pushing it, especially at his pace that he's at now. So I don't know, he's against the clock at the moment, and he's not got many decisions here, and I do believe Pole is kind of out the window, and Websy will definitely have the advantage against the championship contender at the moment, but more drivers signed to get going at the moment, including Martin, going into the third and final sector, into turn 15, scraping along the barrier, but keeping it in one direction, going into turn 16 now, avoid that inside curb, then get the throttle down, oodle on, making sure not to get overzealous. Exemplary job. Now the Aston Martin going over the curbs, avoid the barrier, keep it smooth, and does exactly that. And now all you need to do is just go flat out, pedal to the metal, all the way to the timing line. And what will the Aston Martin set down on his third run here in qualifying? It's 38.230. It's P5. Still, times are looking impeccably close, and it's just a shame that it is so tight, because any good improvement may still not be enough for P1 on the board. McJammy Dodge looking to go once again, so we'll have to wait and see how that goes on.
Yeah, Aiden obviously putting that good lap in with nearly a double toe down the start-finish straight, ending up in P4. He's retired. Obviously, it was a little bit out of sync. So hopefully, for his sake, he doesn't drop too much. But we're going to have a look at Mertz. He was about 4 tenths up through the second sector. So can he find himself up into the top 10? Unfortunately, he can't. I think he dropped a little bit of time, but he does get just inside the top 10 as that Sauber got really close to the other half. So next driver, we've got a big pile up here. Obviously, a few drivers maybe hoping for a bit of a tow, or just trying to keep out of the way. Both the RBs, so I think it might be the RBs. They're both on an out lap, so it's going to be real tricky to find actually who's the next one to actually cross the line.
Flag, this is going to be tight. Ferrari's way. What is red doing? Oh dear, that got completely and utterly, messy in the slightest, but Red Bull eventually moving. I don't know how to be feeling about that one.
Yeah, this is just going to be an absolute mess in this final stage because obviously both Ferraris would want to get a bit of a tow. I think the RBs trying to tow each other as well. So this is not going to be a straightforward session
Oh, no.
by any means. We do have the checkered flag in 3, 2, 1, and it's going to be eBay Boy. He does just make it across the line as Durabot will start from plumb last. I think it's one of the Astons that's out of fuel, so it will be the Sauber next of Ladozi, who's up by about a tenth and a half. So he'll try and get close to that sort of Mercedes time into the 38s if he's got time in this last sector. Doesn't have a tow. So we are going to improve. Are we from Ladozi? He does find a little bit of time, P16, as we got the two Haas. We got a Haas and a Sauber. We're battling across the line. Tyler's retired from the session. Do any of these guys improve? Saucy does move up into the top 10. Both Alpines. K5 goes into P7, getting a tow from his teammate. Mick.
Lil Sheldon goes P15. eBay Boy continuing long.
Yeah, McJemmy is out. How's Cam on? Cam slightly up. I think it'll be the two Mercs. No, Calix is on an outlap, but he's nowhere.
V-Carb at the moment, checkered flag as well, looking to get a bit of a stream and tow from his teammate. He's purple in the second sector, Scotty. This could be on for the checkered flag. V-Carb now just using all of that slipstream, using the remainder of the to make it into a combination of the line. It's a 37.493. That's 3/10 practically, more towards the 2/10 margin, but he's ahead of the Finns, and that was teamwork at its finest. V-Carb now up into provisional pole. McJammy Dodge still has an opportunity, but no, he's backed out of it. The red light flashing away. Dunno, P14, he's 18 seconds off. Everyone else across the checkered flag, it's done and dusted. And checkered flag has managed pole position by the skin of his teeth, but he's done it by a solid deficit, and it is done and dusted here in Baku.
Yeah, and that RB form carries on from the 1-2 finish from Tier 2 yesterday with checkered flag. Fantastic time, and that's a solid bump, 2/10 ahead of Finns, and a fantastic toe work. So Yusuf, even though Yusuf was giving him the toe, Yusuf still put in a bloody good effort with that injury. P6, 28.2, easily inside the top 10, third row. Alongside McJemmy, and if he can get ahead of him on the start, that will be very helpful for Checkered Flag and Finns. But Checkered Flag hasn't picked up a win in Inters yet, so I know a bit of support in the chat. Hopefully we can see him on the top step tonight, but he's done the first part of it right as we see the results, and it's Checkered Flag, the RB, just ahead of the Williams. Finns, they line up together. Websy, Aiden, McJemmy, Yusuf, Tyler, K5, Farmer Sam, and KLX rounds out our top 10. So Joshy, Saucy, Mertz, Dunno, Little Sheldon, Cam, Letter P, Ladozi, eBay Boy, and Durabot rounds out our field of 20.
Wow. And all the way down to P20 at 2.7, nearly 2.8 second deficit. So it did start to spread out a little bit more as times went on, with everyone practically from P15 downwards inside the low sub 1 minute 40s. So not bad effort from everyone on circuit, but here's a little statistic for you. It is Yusuf Goat in V-Carb who is the only person to pick up a pole position until now. Now it is both V-Carbs who have had a pole position to their names, and well, here's another rhetorical question. What's the deal with Websy and Meowsy? Because these guys are willing to go neck for one another to try and get the better. I mean, especially in the favor of Ferrari, they need valuable points. I mean, yes, it is going to be V-Carb in P1 on pole position, but it is still going to be close margins by everyone inside that top 10, even further down from that. I'm sure there's probably going to be a few DRS trains because of the long straights that we get, but if it breaks away, then I'm sure one driver will start to pull away from the rest of the field. Obviously, we get a little bit more technical through the second sector, but it's still going to be very close margins.
Yeah, and interesting in terms of strategies, obviously didn't see the safety car that a lot of us would have thought, so the hard medium definitely was the better strategy in the end, but we do have the lights coming on. We've got 4, we got 5 Round 10, Tier 1, Baku is underway. Checkered flag, got away nicely. It was Spencer had a little bit of the slide. Ken Websey sent the move around the outside. He's going to attempt it. Not a lot of run off there, so he has to stay back in P3. Checkered flag still leads. We're all clearly through turn 1, but how about turn 2 as Websey and Aiden go side by side. Aiden on the inside. And a solid effort, Dunno picking up a 10-second time penalty, collision with Mercy. You can see that on the track back at the back. But checkered flag easily got the gap ahead of Finns, Websey, Aiden, McJemmy stays in P5, Yusuf in P6, Tyler and Farmer Sam, the Aston Martins in P8, 7 and 8, KLX K5 as we got Cam and the letter P battling side by side. Cam nearly gets close to the wall but manages to keep it out of trouble. We got the Alpines getting very close together along with the Sauber as that Alpine nearly gets fed into the wall but just manages to avoid that. So Yoshi and
BSC
as we get a little bit of a breather, but that was an absolutely perfect start from checkered flag. He didn't lit up the rears as Cam picks up a 10-second time penalty, and you can see no front wing on the Ferrari. Ladozi, Cam, and Little Sheldon, I think the three with the front wing damage, with Mercy right at the back of this one, 4 seconds back with the time penalty as we're getting passing under this BSC. So hopefully that gets sorted out. But
there'd be a timer.
Yeah, but as I said, checkered flag, he nailed the
Green
start.
flag.
Oh, and that was a very, very quick VSC, and I think checkered flag didn't quite get the gap, so definitely got to watch Finns as we've got a big crash at the back. That's Cam. No front wing. Couldn't take that corner. Mercy nearly run into the back of him. But as we come down the start finish straight for the first time, it's checkered flag, but he didn't have the lead that he had before the VSC. As you got to look at Finns. Does he want to take the lead? He's got to send it down the inside, and he actually did take the lead coming across the line, and he takes the inside line. So he will lead lap 2 here at Baku. Checkered flag and Websey, Farmer Sam. Oh, and there's contact between KLX and Farmer Sam. Nearly getting fed into the inside of the pit wall as these guys try and settle themselves out. Too much contact, you just lose a whole bunch of time as checkered flag wants to get back behind Finns. Action aplenty, JP, and it's only lap 2 or 26.
Yeah, no, Websey's still in P3, making sure to a bit more. He's not getting too close to the action. Out in front, Finns originally taking the position going into P1, but it's checkered flag who now takes it back. Once again, this tussle is something they don't need this early on in the race. They need to working together, try and build a gap as quickly as possible to Websey in P3, but it is Websey who's closer to the Williams than Williams is to the V-Carb, and that is imperative for the British constructor as McLaren continues to try and bring themselves closer towards the top 2 and score valuable points to pull away from Meowsy. Currently McJammy Dodge, or Meowsy currently in P5, 3/10 off Aiden Riziums, but we know how consistent and competitive Aiden can be. He was faster than McJammy Dodge in those closing laps in Imola. He was just too far, too late in 2 little laps, and now he has the opportunity to prove how he is competitive and how he's faster than McJammy Dodge in comparison to the Ferrari. He's doing a great, fantastic job so back onto the pit straight, and the Haas will continue on for the time being, but with a good slipstream and tow on the Williams. Same for the Williams on checkered flag. Time stronger gap for the McLaren than it is to the Williams to V-Carb. K5 goes up to P9 with McJammy Dodge now taking fast. And Finns go back up to P. And now it is checkered flag who once again has that disadvantage. The tussling continues and the gap continues to fall down.
See the tyres on screen. As you can see, everybody inside the top 10 at the moment on the medium compounded tyres as checkered flag goes ahead of Finns once again. So these two just trading positions, but you can see the whole train behind them. Yusuf is the one that's trying to stay in there, and as I said, with that injury, might just be affecting, but as I said, he's going to be a very sore boy at the end of the 26 laps. But we'll keep an eye on him as he gets close to the inside wall there at turn 5, but yeah, a bit of a DRS trade at the moment, and this is probably going to be the case at least at the moment until these mediums start dropping off.
McLaren of Websey currently in P3, as we mentioned previously, has a made-up position, but he is well and truly started to bring down that deficit, but a bad exit going through into turn 13, just didn't get all of it, turn 12, my apologies, and Aiden also sticking with them. As I mentioned, this is train starting to form, and as suspected, as soon as you lose that DRS, you can just start to pull away a little bit further, but that's where teamwork and even with different teams need to start coming into play so they can work together and rather create bit of a battle between drivers, or at least just start to separate themselves from the rest of the field and create a better opportunity for themselves. But Websy is closer than ever before. He's going to get, and it will not even matter because he's practically already overtaken the Williams by the time he gets the DRS open. Line will make a double overtake into P1, and that is an incredible move on display by the team from Woking, England. And there is nothing else that the drivers behind can do as Websy takes the lead of the race. How can the McLaren start to pull away now? He does not have DRS anymore. And now it's Checkered Flag who starts to close in on the deficit, and it's practically back to square one with this train continuing on.
Yes, obviously that's how strong the DRS is, especially when the pack is as close as what it is. But you can see Vince is still right on the rear of the RB of Checkered Flag. And that's the thing, if Websy's feels like he's got a bit of pace and he can actually break Checkered Flag just right on the curb a little bit there, that just cost him a little bit of time, about half a second. But I think Checkered Flag, all he needs to do is just keep within the DRS. That's his game at the moment. As I said, you're going to see strategy either at our first safety car or at our first pit stop in about 6-7 laps time. So Checkered Flag just needs to stay with the gap about 6 tenths. So Websy's definitely got pace, especially in the middle sector. Checkered Flag obviously getting that very, very nice nice toe on his fastest lap in qualifying, where Websy, I'm pretty sure, did it on his own. So that's sort of how much pace he's got. It's about 8 tenths. Problem is, with the track around Baku, with this long start-finish straight, that gap pretty much will just close immensely as you got a bit of a...
That's the Alpine.
And that's a weird spot to have an accident.
It is.
So
and he's going to lose out big time on the back straight here, as you mentioned. Big DRS point for all these drivers to kind of train off of one another. Checkered Flag. P2, Websy holds on.
Yeah, they just survived. As I said, just without that run-off at turn 1 on the exit of the corner, you've just got to make sure that if you're going to hang around side by side, you have enough respect on the guy on the inside, or you feel like the guy on the inside will give you enough respect, because he can easily feed you into that wall. But great racing between the two of them. But as I said, Websy, Zane's going to send a move down the inside. There's a little bit of contact, and I think thankfully we're still facing the right way. McJammy's going to be the one that takes advantage of it though. So Aiden, looking for an overtake, actually drops the position. But these guys have got to be careful because they're already outside the DRS. You do not want to drop DRS around here. Pretty much you just drop a lot of time of how Websy's quick in the sort of the slower parts of the circuit. Yeah, this will pretty much be a gift for the top two if these guys bloody don't get back into it. And as I said, it's 1.5 seconds, so you can forget that toe. So it's pretty much nearly now going to be a battle for the top two, and then pretty much from third down, unfortunately.
Now that was exactly the point I was making previously. Once that gap and once that deficit to pull away, and we always knew it was going to be more to the top two that was going to pull away from the rest of the field, and then we're all going to get these little subgroups of DRS trains, like from P3 downwards, with McJammy Dodge looking to probably make this move against the V-Carb with pretty subsequent ease, as Checkered Flag will have no toe. Ferrari has a nice slipstream, will also get the benefit of DRS, and there's nothing V-Carb can do. He's practically a sitting duck down the main straight. And as we go into turn 1, it is now Ferrari who gets up into the top 3 and onto the podium positions. And with McJammy Dodge now only having clean air ahead with rest, he needs to use this technical part of the circuit, and definitely not this part, as another DRS train opens up, or at least another DRS activation point opens up. And now we'll start to lose that time to Fins and Websy, and is behind McJammy Dodge will start to close in on him. So it's a bit of an awkward opportunity to try and gain time back if you're already past that. This is exactly where you want to do it. Anywhere between terms 5, 6, maybe 4 as well, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11, 12, of course, when you go through the castle section. So it's very important, almost imperative. If you're going to bring that gap back into your favor, you need to do it here in this placement of the circuit.
Yeah, it's definitely important. We'll see how that gap up the front goes. I'm just keeping an eye on this middle part, because a lot of these guys have actually got front wing all of a sudden, front wing damage all of a sudden. So we saw the positions change. You can see that Sauber has quite a damage right side of his wing. I think the Alpine in front is also of Mertz. So whether these guys have come together, but there are a fair few guys with front wing damage. So I'm not sure what happened. As that would have been a spectacular move if the Woos pulled it off and Sauber hits the wall. That was always going to be the case. If you have damage front wing there, good luck trying to turn that at turn 15 on a normal speed. Probably very lucky to not take his front left off, as we got the battle for the lead once again. And it's going to be Finns that takes the lead back from Websy. McJemmy's actually dropped Checkered Flag, so Checkered Flag's the one that struggled, and Aiden moving up into the top 4. So Checkered, unfortunately, starting from pole, he's just dropped back a little bit. I know he's been hit from behind a couple of times. Maybe that's just unsettled him a little bit, as we've got a few of these drivers coming into the pit lane, obviously, with the damages. Sir Joshy, has he binned it coming into pit lane?
No, that's pit lane. Like inside pit lane.
Yeah, cool.
But it's done and dusted for the kick, Sal. But Ferrari, obviously, no down my times. He's faster than obviously the V-Carb. He's also faster than Aiden Rizium's at the moment. So he then currently sits behind him. However, he currently just obviously missing out on that DRS. Can't get close enough to Websy and Finns. He's one of the fastest drivers on circuit. Any DRS, so imagine what he can do if he can just sneak inside. He's down to 1.1, and this is where I was exactly saying on the circuit castle section. If you can find the time, if you can get the momentum out of the exits, you can see he's down to 9/10 and now back up to that 1 second point due to the slipstream that Websy has on Finns. And it's just you can tell he's closing it up now, and if he just gets one more lap, or at least the next couple of corners, he'll get that opening he was looking for. And there you go, 0.8 of a second. He's in the 1 second margin as long as he gets it out the exit of turn 16, which is Ferrari now has the opening and the window he needed to close in on the top 2.
Yeah, and I think Vince is just struggling a little bit more than the two other guys. He's just losing a bit of time. As we're seeing Websy just lifting off a little bit, so he didn't want to get the overtake done too early to give the toe back to Finns, but Websy retakes the lead, but that's massively important for McJemmy to be within this DRS train now, so he can just cover, or he can just stay behind him as Aiden's now leading the next train. But Checkered Flag, I think it's just settled a little bit, so I think the pace has just gone up a little bit for these guys, and Checkered just doesn't quite have the raw pace.
Oh wow, look at that Ferrari.
Sorry. Yeah, switching over to McJemmy, and yeah, he's right on the back.
He's close.
As I said, if he didn't have that lag out, he would have had 2 attempts on that, on 2 separate softs, then it would have been very interesting to see if he had an uninterrupted quali, how close he would have been to pole. But as I said, he's in the right position at the moment. I guess the next place is, and unless we see a safety car, it will be pit stops, and which of these top 3 will blink first.
Ooh.
But you can just see the awkward line that Vince had to take. That opens the gap up to Websy, and the Williams is right on the thing. I say safety car.
Well, Scotty, this opens the gap now. Window is tires to come in, because for all these drivers on the medium compounds, they would have been boxing anywhere between lap 9 to lap 15 onto the hards. Now, due to the safety car being deployed, your safety car windows normally anywhere between maybe lap 7, but if you're on the medium compound tires, then you're obviously going to make the switch to the hards and not for the mediums for a second time running. So now this just gets a little bit more intriguing, and Finns will be absolutely delighted with the fact he gets to come into the pit lane ahead of McJamie Dodge.
Yeah, and I'm just keeping an eye on Yusuf, because he's going to be the one hurt from the double stack. And reminder, you can't hold up too much in terms of a double stack, because you will be penalised. And Yusuf's definitely coming in. It'd be very interesting to see what that delta's like. And I think Farmer Sam, if he had anything to do with it, might have something to say about that if he was up on his delta as well. But everyone is in. I'm just going to keep an eye on... Oh, he won't get held up too much. And he had a bit of a gap behind him. But everybody in on the hard compound tyres. Websy keeps the lead from Vince, from McJemmy, Aiden, Checkered Flag, Tyler, Yusuf. Saucy, Letter P will be your 10. And I think everybody has to come in. Even if you started on the hards, Saucy's getting front wing chain, so he was one of the guys that maybe hit the wall at some point. So
few drivers who boxed before, sorry.
Yeah, there was at least some wing damage, so I could definitely expect some of those boys further down, so now they can sort of play a little bit of a different strategy. Saucy's going to struggle 17 laps. Sort of thought, oh, was Ludo, where have you gone? You've retired in pit lane 2, so Sauber, I think this is not the first time Sauber, unfortunately, both their cars retiring from a race, and unfortunately that is the case yet again, so the Grand Machine, the Kick Sauber, will not score any points, and we've lost KLX, who has caused this safety car. So pretty much strategy now goes out the window. We're going to have a pretty much a 15 lap race, all on the hard tyres, all on the same age. It's going to be pretty much straightforward. Wear's not too bad around here on the Hards is a consistent tyre around here. They might not be the quickest, but they're definitely consistent, so you're not going to have a big drop-off of pace on them. So it's just going to be strategy in terms of when you want to lead the tow and when you see that chance to actually take it and get that little bit of a breakaway.
Well, I mean, it makes sense realistically. C3s, 4s and 5s, C3 tyres, right down the middle of the entire range that you have at your opening two. Obviously, we're on the softer compound of tyres, obviously being on the complete right-hand side of the Pirelli range available for these drivers. Obviously, as I mentioned, C3s, 4s and 5s are the majority on the C3 hards, but the C3s are used as both mediums and softs as well, which is why they are so balanced. They have that grip, they have that endurance, but they're also just able to be competitive at the same time. You know, they're not exactly pushing any limits or boundaries. They're not exactly going to be setting laps alight. However, they are still competitive tyres to be on. They still will offer you that grip, and they still will be there for a longer period of time. But speaking of safety cars that haven't been really showing itself, Baku, Scotty, here's one right here, lap 10 of 26, and the Aston Martin Valkyrie safety car has been deployed. Obviously, Websy still leading away in P1 with Finns and McJammy Dodge, who made an absolute incredible push once he got that DRS. We know how competitive he is, but as soon as he hooked just a little bit of that rear wing being open, he just started to close in with no remorse for drivers ahead, and that's staying in P3, but with, I'm sure, the idea to get past the Williams and McLaren with quick constitution. But either way, safety car currently underneath, and all drivers getting their pit stops done and bringing themselves back up into this train before we get some more chaotic racing underway.
Yeah, and obviously, going to be very interesting about this safety car restart. I've opened Twitter up at the wrong time. I knew the F2 race was starting shortly, so obviously no spoilers. But hopefully, we see a better incident of a restart than what I've just seen. So, yeah, I'll be interesting to watch that back. But yeah, Websy's looking good. It's going to be interesting in terms of, obviously the top two clearly have just different parts of the track that they're a little bit quicker at. So I think Cam, where's he? He's very close to catching that pack. We might have a late restart, so hopefully the drivers are prepared. So before that, quick look at our position changes. Leonard P probably would have been in contention for the win yesterday if he did pick up a little bit of damage in a drive-through under the VSC, I believe. But he's up 8 positions, so good points for the Williams at the moment, and no doubt he'll try and feed his way through a little bit further. As we look at Websy, I think Cam has actually got a little bit of front wing damage, so I think he's hit the wall trying to catch back up, unfortunately. So I think he's purposely slowing down so he can actually make another pit stop. And we will go around once again, so Cam will come in and get that front wing changed. Cam, if you can hear me, go fix your front wing, because it does look like you got a bit of an end plate. He stays out, so mustn't be too bad for him, because there's definitely a few guys in the field that have got a little bit of front wing damage, but clearly not enough to bother them. But yeah, very interesting to see. But tyres, as we can see, everybody on the hards. Big thank you to everyone watching, nearly 40 people watching. As I said, tier one, great action we've seen all season so far. Scotty and JP here with you. I won't say a 15-lap sprint, but everyone's done their compulsory pit stop. It's Baku. We know the shenanigans that can happen around here. Websy and McJammy fighting for this championship. Finn's a little bit further back, but he definitely wants a win. Aiden and Checkered Flag, they wouldn't mind stepping on the top step as well. And yeah, JP, this is going to be a fascinating second half of this race.
No, it definitely will. And something else to mention as well, Vince isn't exactly off by the largest margin. Actually, here's a little statistic for you. Meowsy is obviously McJammy Dodge for anyone that's watching the timing sheets at the moment, is 47 points off Websy, but it's actually Finns who's closer to the Ferrari than Ferrari is to McLaren, because Finns is only 31 points off the Ferrari, so it isn't like he's lost the pace at all, or he hasn't lost exactly that competitive edge he had previously in this. Also had 2 wins to his name. The Ferrari obviously picking up a few more at this point. He's got 3 to his name and a few top 5s and 2 P2s as well. I mean, that Ferrari has stacked up on his side. Websy, of course, getting more than majority of the other people in the championship so far. But the point I'm saying is Williams isn't out of the... Ferrari definitely is a bit more competitive than the... Williams was struggling last time he was out on out of the exit of turn 16, so the safety car will pull away. Bert Mailander has finished doing his job on circuit. Now it's time to watch the chaos ensue here at Azerbaijan, here in Baku. This is going to be an enthralling start all the way to the timing line, and Websy will dictate the pace all the way until that point. The McLaren wants to try and create and at least produce the biggest gap possible. He knows that Ferrari is most likely going to get past, and it is now up to McLaren to try and independently get away, make sure no DRS can go on the trigger, and across the line we are here at Azerbaijan for and the deficit has not been increased by a large margin. In the Hasselbaden and Checkered Flag goes up to P4, and V-Cup to a position. Haas falls away a little bit. Now Aston Martin going will to will with the GOAT Yusuf looking to go down the inside even with it ankled. Aston makes contact with the barrier. Potential now right of his teammate. The field, Finns is now 4.5, nearly 5 tenths off Websy. Has now continued to lose time out. McJammy looking for before, trying to stay out of the hot air to avoid any. And we are well and truly on action here in Azerbaijan. Yellow flag, but goes back to green. And action just starting to spice up, as you mentioned, to the Checkered Flag.
Yeah, Websy holding the lead. Apologies for that. JP's mic cutting in and out. Unfortunately, a little bit. I think that's more Discord's issue. Discord playing up as usual. So, again, apologies for that. Sort of call most of JP's great callers. We've got an end plate coming off the Mercedes. Sorry, the McLaren, I should say. So, just let us know in the chat if it's both our mics or just JP, because it might just be my end as well. But Websy doing a solid effort on the restart, but it's McJammy that's wanting to get past the Williams first, and he's got the inside line. He's going to do this without a bit of DRS. Problem is the Williams has the toe on the car in front. Websy making his pick on who he wants to give the toe. There's a little bit of front to rear contact from Finns and Jamie, but the Ferrari driver does get that position, and now it's going to be a straight fight between McJammy and Websy for this race lead. And I am going to be very fascinating how these two battle. We're still halfway through the this race, as we've lost JP for a second. So again, apologies for that. We'll try and get him back in as soon as possible. So Websy, McJammy, Finns, Checkered Flag up into P4. Hayden in P5, Yusuf in P6. RB still scoring some really good points if they stayed as they are. Saucy is up into P9 on the medium compounded tyres. Letter P, sort of a little bit of the cork in the bottle at the moment, 2.3, but he has moved up a spot from the safety car restart. So we'll see if they can close back in, but 2.4 is going to be a long way. Maybe let Saucy through, use those medium compounded tyres to maybe just drag this train, hopefully to the back of back of the front pack, as Cam picks up a 3-second time penalty. Not too hard to, or not too easy to get penalties here, so interested to see where he picked that one up. But Cam, our first 3-second penalty of the day. But Websy and Jamie, about 4 tenths. JP, hopefully you're back, and I think Jammy's Jamie, I think, is going to take this race lead going into lap 14.
Well, the two championship contenders now contend with one another. P2, Ferrari, the inside line, has the slipstream in tow. Go for it, going turn one. It's done and dusted, and the move is Scuderia Ferrari Formula One team into the lead of the race. And it was a fantastic push and a fantastic effort. And it's McLaren who now has DRS as they go through out of the exit of turn two. And now it's just going to go all the way back. Now it's McLaren Formula One team from Woking, England, who Websy goes up into P1, back and forth. This is a championship fight if I've ever seen it. 47 points is the change, and this is where they want to try and increase or decrease it. Ferrari's hunting Websy. Websy's trying to pull Jamie Dodge, and will be this way all the way to the final round, or at least until we can crown a champion. But at the moment, it is Websy who has the advantage. McJamie Dodge has the stream in tow. Checkered flag's gone into the barrier. That's front wing damage for him. Doesn't seem to be a VSC, however. Green flag again. Checkered flag falls down to P8 from what would look to be an original P5. Yusuf Goat takes over from his teammate's position. 1 second off Aiden Riziums. McJamie Dodge in P2, still trying to close in on the McLaren. Websy will have the disadvantage going onto the pit straight. No DRS to assist them. No DRS to give them a helping hand. They're practically going to start to approach that DRS detection point. Will McLaren play the DRS game, or will he just admit defeat? Knows that Ferrari has it. And now it is Ferrari with a flat to the floor, pedal to the metal, throttle all the way down into turn one. Is he just a little bit too back? The DRS is close, but no, he's going to try and make the move going into turn two. And when he gets another opportunity for DRS, it's Websy with 3 wins to his name. Meowsy with 3 wins to his name. There's 3 P2s, 2 P2s, 9 top 5s, 6 top 5s. Those are the differences. Consistency over pace. But it's McJamie Dodge who down the inside, and we can go back and forth on statistics and records. But it's Ferrari who again makes the position move up.
Yeah, solid battle up front. Obviously, you saw in the background that we had an issue between Farmer Sam, and I think Saucy might have been in there as well. Farmer Sam, obviously you can see the big damage on the left-hand side of the front wing, and that will have to be a front wing change. Checkered flag did come in for that front wing change. I know Little Sheldon's got a bit of front wing damage, and you can see the battle pack behind as a little bit of lag, but this is getting a little bit touch and go for these guys in the midfield. So clearly, guys trying to make up positions, and unfortunately there's been contact a few times, just not quite the space given on the inside, out off the exits. And as I said, you can barely go side by side as the RB of Yusuf just sliding a little bit through turn 15. But we'll head back to our race leaders. Ben's obviously dropped out of that DRS zone, and Aiden's right behind him, so we might have 2 moves potentially coming down to turn number 1 as on board with Websy. This is pretty much going to be back and throw with these guys. Yellow flag.
Oh,
Farmer
big
Sam and
contact
Sheldon.
made,
Big contact.
Oh, more people being taken. A5 M5 drivers out of the Azerbaijan. Farmer Sam, Saucity and K5 M5. Big collision. Back straight. Safety car has been deployed. My God, horrific.
Yeah, and I reckon the point of that is Farmer Sam. Obviously, we said earlier on in the lap that he had front wing damage, so either someone's trying to go side by side, which you'd highly not reckon to go through there, or there's been, or Farmer Sam or someone with wing damage is just pretty much understeered completely into the rule, and we got a red flag.
Red flag.
So
we have red flags on.
We do, but we barely see him. But we have a red flag, ladies and gentlemen. So we're going to have a complete restart. Everybody will be able to pick their tyres, and it'll be a complete reset. So probably a well-deserved red flag. We lost 3 drivers and a few more people picking up a red flag. So, yeah, so obviously reset for everybody now. But, yeah, red flag, and I believe that was well needed. So it'd be nice to get some POV footage, but it was I know Sheldon had wing damage. I know Farmer Sam had wing damage. So it was either contact between two cars, or one of
I
those
think,
guys,
yeah.
or one of those guys have just understeered into the wall with the damage, and that's just absolutely blocked
I
the racing line.
I have a sneaking suspicion someone tried carrying too much speed and went kaboom into a barrier. That was horrific, and a lot of spread onto the circuit, as you mentioned. A definite need for a red flag, but a red flag that will disappear in practically no time. 5 minutes, and the restart is underway here, and it is lights out, and we are underway. Again, McJammy dodging P2, still trying to hunt down Websy. Finn's in P3, Aiden Rizium's going into P4, staying where they are, and it's practically go, go, go all again. A few drivers deciding not to switch on their tires. Finns, who now loses out big time, getting too overzealous on throttle, potentially being spun, but he's bound in P13, and it's done and dusted on his side. You can see out from P14 below. All drivers from there have now retired from the Tyler FF has of the soft compound towers, the C5s, they will absolutely grip and tear through the tarmac, but they will literally tear. Degradation is high on C5s, and he needs to be make the moves quickly as possible, as the Aston Martin going for a different strategy to grid. A lot of other drivers going for the mediums, thinking they no longer need to get to the remainder of the race, and McJam 3.5 tenths off at the moment. McLaren still looking to try and pull away. Ferrari will die into his grave, and look at turn 15. We know how he's able to gain out of the exit of these couple of corners in the third and sector, and where we saw the which brought out the red flag. The racing at its highest pinnacle, where racing reached IRL tier down to where we get to see another overtake on lap 18 of 26. Ferrari to the inside. Aiden Rizzi background could potentially join the fight. He no longer has the DRS, but now does. 3 tenths to 1 tenth. It's close. Ferrari takes the lead. McLaren and Aiden continues to drop the gap down furthermore, and well and truly racing underway here in Azerbaijan.
Yeah, it's obviously getting the jump start, drive-through penalty, so he's serving that now just in case we do get another safety car. But yeah, Jemmy and Websy fighting Aiden right in there. Yusuf's doing a really nice job in P4. Leonard P's obviously moved up a few positions as well with that big crash, so unfortunately one Williams in the wall, and with the new front wing, Finns, who was pretty much a guaranteed chance, you'd reckon, for a podium with the fight, but unfortunately he finds himself in P13. Leonard P carrying the Williams flag at the moment, but our top three sort of broken away from Yusuf a little bit. Yusuf needs to find a bit of pace in this middle sector to get DRS. But yeah, this is gonna. It was a very interesting start off the red flag. One unfortunate item of it was, I think Battlecat's going to kill me, because Racing League Tools clearly didn't like the red flag and has completely thrown me into a practice session for data. So unfortunately, he might have to have some manual work done, but we'll leave that to the end of the session. But it would have been very interesting to see what the stats were. But McJammy, Websy, Aiden, it's going to be battle these top three. Eustace dropped half a second in this middle sector. So McJammy, Websy, Aiden, all on the medium compounded tyres. It was only going to be a 9-lap sprint after that red flag, so these mediums will get you to the end in somewhat decent condition. But it's going to be Websy with the DRS, Aiden right behind. Websy a little bit too far back to make a move, but McJammy sets the fastest lap of the race, 40.251. That was nearly quicker than a couple of the quali times as well, so that's how much pace these three have compared to the rest of the field. And Websy and Aiden was lost a little bit of time there, but still within the second as we come between turn 2 and 3, and it's got to be very, very close to see which one of these three steps on the top step. But JP, Jemmy and Websy doing a fine job, as Leonard P, well, I think there was a little bit of lag actually. Leonard P didn't look like he actually passed anybody, so hopefully that's fixed itself. But Yusuf, not sure if Yusuf's carrying any damage or not. Doesn't look like he is, but he's dropped another 7 tenths. So that DRS really hurting him now, and I think it's got to be just these three for the top three now.
Yeah, no, Websy in the McLaren, still looking to try and hunt down the Ferrari for the time being, but the tussle for position above anything else has still been quite continuous, even before the red flag being brought out. These two continue to race away, and they still do at this very point. McLaren, as I mentioned, looking to regain that position again, and will most likely do so to keep making the most out of the DRS and try and pull away. Man, Aiden Rizium's P3, the Haas driver, has been right on the tail of both of them ever since red flag has been put away. The restart was introduced, and the Haas will just be a little bit too far away, plus with McLaren having DRS for any type of move to be made. I think the favour will still be for the McLaren. It does look like he's going to be a little bit too far away. He could go for a late one, he's going to get closer, but no, does break, just looking to just stay a little bit cautious than that, not trying to do a Max Verstappen and dive it all the way until someone rather backs out or both cars crash out. But McLaren will get an opening of the exit of turn 2, and this should be pretty easy move on the inside line, breezing past the Ferrari, and McLaren regains it. But as I mentioned, it's not over until that checkered flag, and will continue on between these two. Most likely another switch to be happening, imminent, you may say. And Ferrari will be keeping this up. But this little back and forth will continue. A few other drives staying inside their 1 second deficit, just a little bit too far away for really anything to occur for the time being. And it's more just about everyone settling back down. I know the red flag was a pretty predominant thing to happen, exciting you may say, and now you just need to settle back down, get back into your zone, put your head down and focus to the rest of the race, because we've got 6 laps including this one, and it's just how you continue to show that consistency and pace on your side as Finn's taking a set of those soft compound tires after unfortunately hitting the barrier and taking fastest lap.
Yeah, and we said we're not sure what happened to Finns in terms of whether he had contact or not, but obviously fastest lap point, obviously top 15 scoring points, so we've got fewer than that, so Finns I think walking away with either 3 or 4 points plus another one for fastest lap. So it'll be something to sort of recover from, but he's 40 seconds behind the next car, but it's going to be the battle for the top 3 that we're watching. And you figure he has to at some point get at least into P2 so he then can have an attacking chance, but I have a feeling he's just happily just sitting there comfortably. These 3 very, very close together. Yusuf, oh no, checkered flag. As do we see the Mercedes of Mercy? Not quite, the check flag up into the top 7 now after his little moment earlier on in this race. So still some good points for RB being scored tonight. Tyler's moved himself up into P6 and is within the DRS of letter P, as we got a bit of a move out from Mercy not happening not happening there. So we'll move back, into P7. But yeah, top 3, 5 laps left to go. If you're in Aiden's position, JP, sort of what do you do? Because how much longer do you want to be the third car on the train?
Coming from GT3 experience, this is a little bit of a weirder one to answer, because I think in positioning wise, it's a tough one. I think for Aiden's position, it's tough. You've got DRS with, McJammy Dodge, so making the move isn't exactly step to do. I think realistically in his position, there's no point in making a move 22 of 26. Of course, if you get too close, you have to make that move, and it is what it is. You have to keep moving forward, and you're well and truly in the fight now. But I'd just say staying back a little bit, making sure to stay inside that DRS. He clearly has the pace on his side. He may as well conserve his tires a little bit, keep that battery in his favor, make sure that his fuel is well and truly safe, no problems at all. And like I said, in this moment, he'll most likely make the move potentially on the Ferrari until DRS is open. But with McLaren having nothing, it's Haas who's going to... There you go, another situation I said may a little bit too close, then who have to go for it, and Webbsy's now down to P3, but now this is an advantage to Aiden Rizium. Essentially, said could be got DRS with Ferrari having nothing. Aiden's the one with the advantage. He's got 50% on the battery side, but not close enough on this occasion. So Aiden definitely has the pace. He's probably just around the same amount of lap times as probably McJammy and Webbsy are setting down, so he isn't exactly losing time in any of the sectors, and he's definitely not, here to just hang around for a P3. He well and truly can fight for P1, and if he wants to, he will. So it's just about picking the right moments, getting the right positioning, making sure that you're not the one suffering from, DRS from other drivers, like for example, McJammy Dodge, who's now in P1 in clean air, but with no DRS. Aiden Riziums has actually picked the right position to be in for the time being, But will the C Websy come back out? And we'll have to wait and see. It's going to be McJammy Dodge who becomes a sitting duck down the pit straight.
Yeah, just see the slight lift off a few of these, a few times the third car or the second car on the train between turn 2 and 3. So clearly they're not thinking about turn 3 potentially as a move. They're obviously more concerned about which car's going to be better in front on the final lap here. Can they just save all their ERS to just burn it down here? It's going to be a strategy game. Aiden is going to go and take the race lead, I believe, for the first time. So he will take the lead with 3 laps left to go. McJammy in P2. Websy is now the third car in the train. And probably the same question will be, when does he want to get back into P2? As we're nearly going to go 3 wide, and there's contact, and that's the Williams in the wall. RB, sorry, checkered flag. Somehow he's gotten away without damage, but that looked like that was going to be a horrendous crash between 3 cars. Thankfully, they've all made it out. Checkered flag won't be real happy with the contact, but thankfully we all have those 3 cars surviving and they can keep going around once again. So hopefully we don't see the same thing as we just saw there with the top 3, but we'll keep an eye on that. But yeah, a little bit messy further down, but these 3 in a league of their own. Yusuf and Letter P fighting out for that sort of best of the rest at the moment. Tyler 1.5 seconds off, and I think those soft tyres are just starting to die off on him now, because he was within a second of Letter P, but now he's dropped to 1.6, and I think that gamble that we saw at the start, I think that's just starting to hurt him now, with those softs now starting to struggle in this late stage of the race.
Well, 2 laps remaining, so it's too late for a VSC or an SC. We're on the verge of the racing, and these 2, I'm sure, will continue to fight away. And you know what, going into Emma, there was one thing I said today. I don't know who's going to win this race. It was the top 3, even potentially the top 5. And the deficit was so close. And who's going to win this race? And you can see McJammy Dodge entering into lap 25 6. Going to happen. But the tussling for positions between these 3, and Websy's actually starting to fall away a little bit in P3. He's going to come back due to the tussling that's occurring between the top 2 of Aiden Riziums and McJammy Dodge. But they're so close to one another. They're getting so much momentum, using the DRS to the fullest extent. I could not tell you who is going to win this race. Lap 25 or 26, we're approaching up to that final point. But yeah, I don't know also how Checkered Flag got away with that one. Should have race retirement but he's managed to put it all together still, and nothing of that front wing missing, and he's still pushing away at the moment, but down in P9.
Yeah, Jeremy comes in, I'm assuming for another set of the soft compounded tyres, maybe try and pinch fastest lap, but Finn's on the 39.6, that's going to be a very, very hard ask to beat for Jerobot around here, so we'll keep an eye on Jerobot's fastest lap attempt. Still points for Red Bull, trying to pinch another point. No, he won't pinch another point there because he's outside the top 12. So actually, fastest lap point for Fitz actually is no go because he's not inside the top 10. So we'll keep that in mind. As I was going to say, I thought McJammy was sliding, but that was a bit of lag. But yeah, it's just opened up a little bit. But again, 5.5 tenths down this straight, it's still nothing. We can see how quickly he closes up. And Aiden's second in line. Does he want to take the move now, or does he want to wait till the final lap? That is the question. He's not burning, but Websy certainly is. Websy, I think Aiden was trying to, I think that's hurt Aiden, and Aiden trying to get the move back past. I think Aiden did want to overtake the Ferrari. Problem is, that's allowed Websy. I think Aiden was too busy watching in front, wasn't watching the rear. Websy, that was a fantastic move, but how much ARS did he have to burn to do that? And can he now attack the Ferrari? He won't do it here. So it's now going to be Websy to having a chance on McJammy, but it's going to be fascinating in terms of the run to the line. At that point, the last lap, McJammy did cross it first. So Websy needs to be a little bit quicker. He's obviously right behind. So it's going to be Websy or McJammy. You'd have a feel, unless there's a big moment coming out of the final corner and Aiden gets a spectacular run, but you feel like it's just going to be between the top 2. Aiden gets very close to the wall in the castle section. But as we have half a lap left to go, JP,
Last
McJemmy,
lap,
Websy
Merton.
or Aiden, it's going to be a fight between three. Who comes across the line first?
Well, McLaren in P2 is 26 to 26. It's the final lap of racing. McJamie. How strong and tight that DRS can be. You can gain. It did seem that McLaren just scraping along the curb. Turn 16, but there's no more corners to go. Just a slight kink and a pit. All the checkered flag. He has. It seems to be Websy who will get it all the way, and it is going to the line. He got it by the nick 78,000, but it's McLaren takes the race with. Gets it done by the skin of his teeth. Ferrari P2 with Haas P3. Aaron and Websy. The Azerbaijan city centre and around 90 degrees. And castles alight. It is done and dusted in the favour of the driver. Ferrari did not have the positioning at the right moment. When everything is said and done, it was Websy made the move at right. Jerabot 10-second time penalty, corner cutting. Vin's a little bit too far away and will not find the advantage of any of that. You can actually see Williams is having quite a slow and momentous lap, you could say, almost enjoying and taking in Baku for this before we start to diverge away. 10, but Tier 1 has practically come to a close. The letter P only separate from Yusuf Goat by 63 milliseconds, and actually a round of applause for Yusuf Goat, who has a fractured ankle and managed to pick up P4 using just his good old controller in hand. And you've got to respect the absolute put in, because he was just shy podium of 10 seconds ahead of his teammate in P9. I mean, push by the man with less of a foot than what he used to have.
Yeah, that was a great call. Unfortunately, a couple of little technical difficulties my side, unfortunately. But yeah, Discord unfortunately playing up a little bit, but yeah, great call from what we heard. Websy, he timed it right. It got close to the edge, but he just nailed the exit a little bit better than what McJamie did, and that gave him the victory by less than a tenth of a second. And Websy will increase his championship position. He played that smartly. And it was that, and you have to figure it was that move coming into the final lap, getting past Aiden to be the second car in the train, and that allowed him to take that race victory. Leonard P gets driver of the day. I think he finished in P5, I believe. So fantastic race for himself, the Tier 2 driver. Was a little bit unlucky yesterday. I think he finished actually in the exact same position, P5. So P5's across the two days, but it's the McLaren on top. Websy, fantastic win. Another win for McLaren. Meowsy just unable to hold off. Still brings home another podium in P2. And Aiden, full Haas. I'm a little bit happy about that. Aiden bringing home the top three. And a great result from himself. So, as we have a look at our results, because there's going to be a few DNFs, Websy, McJamie, Aiden are your top three. Yusuf, Letter P, Tyler, Dunno, great effort from him in P7. eBay, Checkered Flag, and Cam running in our top 10. Mertz, Jerabot, and Vince were your 13 finishers, and then having a look at the list, K5, Saucy, Farmer Sam, Little Sheldon, Paraludo, KLX, and Sajoshi were our 7 DNFs. And 1 red flag, 2 safety cars in that one. There, that was plenty in that one. So we need a bit of a breather there. And like I thought, my Racing League Tools results didn't save. So unfortunately, Battlecat's got a little bit of work to get the results down manual. Yeah, apologies for that. But yeah, JP, what a race that we did just see. Interrupted a few times, but I think the top three definitely proved that was the quickest on the day, and then Websy, our championship leader, does what the championship leader does.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and did it to the best of his extent. And I mean, close margins though. 78 milliseconds, 78 thousandths, however you may word it. The gap stays the same, and realistically, that's Azerbaijan at its best when everything is said and done. You know, the margins were practically nothing, and anyone could have won that. It was simply just about positioning. Websy was in P2, he had the DRS, the gap was just in his favour, and it managed to give McLaren there. But we're not joined alone, Scotty, because in the commentary box and now the interview room is Meowsy Gaming, all two in your favour, and unfortunately those 3 wins will stay as 3 wins, but it does become your 3rd P2 of the season with a 7th top 5, so I'm sure you're still happy about some of those statistics and plenty of points still in your favour. However, the one man you probably need to finish ahead of finishes ahead of you on this occasion. Thousands.
Yeah, I didn't really want Websy to finish in front. I'm running out of time now to close the gap. I do know that he will be missing next race, so that is
Interesting.
very good. So hopefully I can get a win, maybe a cheeky fastest lap, try and close that gap down because I am definitely running out of time. He's very consistent, which is annoying, but fair enough. Yeah, it was a good race. I messed up qualifying. That disconnect really threw me off. I thought I had enough time to go back into the pits, but I didn't, which caused my tires to be extremely cold on my lap, and I just couldn't deliver. Almost had a Red Bull in my way, so that threw me off as well. But yeah, starting P5 wasn't optimal. I knew I had to get places up quickly before the end of the race, which happened. I was able to get past Aiden and then checkered flag relatively quickly from their little squabble at the start. Then that resulted in me being in P3. Obviously in the safety car restart, it was pretty good. I got fins almost instantly. The lap after, it was just about keeping in DRS and trying to get a good last lap basically at that point. However, a random red flag got in the way, so I don't know how that even happened, but fair enough. That did restore the order, which is a bit annoying because it was going to be Websy and I was going to be fighting for the win, but oh well. I think the top 2 would have stayed as it is, and it did, so that was nice. It was pretty good. I could have done a bit more on the last lap. Probably shouldn't have gone at none in some parts in Sector 2, which definitely closed in the gap, but yeah, well played from Websy to keep it behind me on the last lap, making sure he saved his battery and then do a mega push on the straight, which I couldn't do much about.
Let me ask you something. As a driver, obviously we get to the final lap, and as Websy has in the VC, we'll get interview a little bit later, but in terms of positioning on circuit, when a car is ahead of another car, when behind another car, how come there wasn't a bit more on the DRS silly side with drivers potentially giving up positions to then use that DRS a little bit later? Are you losing too much time by giving up position, or what was the real reason behind that one?
Yeah, I didn't want to. I knew Aiden was really close behind me, so I didn't want to slow down and then be overtaken again.
Right.
So I didn't want that to happen. Plus, I knew that Websy would definitely not try and get past me no matter what, and it'll just create a Constantina effect. And I've done that before, and I got a penalty for it. So yeah, I didn't want to repeat that. So I just tried to do a mega push lap at the end, which didn't really work. I tried to get 6 tenths because I knew if it was over 6 tenths, I would be fine. But alas, it wasn't. So yeah, fair play from him for sticking behind me.
Next round, Singapore GP for round 11 here in Tier 1. Obviously, as you mentioned, your time is running out as a quote-unquote, obviously round 10. So after this, we have 9 rounds up next. So how are we feeling for Marina Bay and for the very, very tight circuit that is Singapore? And for the remainder of the season, as you your time is running out, but there's still plenty of rounds remaining, and on the point side, I guess, how you're trying to potentially come through there, because obviously it's a Websy's favour. I think you said that Web would be missing a race, similarly to how early you missed a race, and how you can try and be advantageous of that.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a street track merchant, I guess, so hopefully I can get a good result in Singapore. I used to be cooking in the first handling model, but I'm a bit washed now. I haven't done too much Singapore practice, so yeah, hopefully I can get Websy there. But yeah, you did mention that Websy is good around there, so I'm a bit worried now. So hopefully I can do a good race. I probably need to win that race to have still a chance in the championship because, yeah, as I've mentioned previously, time is running out and that is pretty suboptimal.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But it's been a fantastic race in your favour in Baku. It's still P2, close margins. That DRS just at the very end, which snuck you away from that P1 at the very end. But overall, red flag as well, which obviously kind of got thrown into the mix. Do you know what happened there?
No, no
No,
clue.
so what will happen, by the way, there was a four driver collision right near the back of the field, which all of them retired and caused the red flag to deploy. But yeah,
That's
no,
pretty suboptimal.
yeah, but you know what? It is what it is. On at least on comms, you, Websy, and the Haas of Aiden Riziums, which of course is suboptimal for you, but good racing on display.
Yeah, good racing tonight. Hopefully it can carry on for next race.
Anything for you, Scotty?
No, I said fantastic result. I think you've said everything, and yeah, obviously, hopefully you can. Obviously, if Websy is missing the next race, you can get maximum points at Singapore next time out. But yeah, big
Yeah,
congratulations on that P2.
thank you.
So I believe we have
Websy.
our race leader in Websy. You had to deal with two safety cars, a red flag, not leading into that final lap, but you managed to pull it out by less than a tenth of a second. That is another win for you and an increase in your championship lead. Well done. How was that one for you?
It's a crazy race, to be honest. I've never seen a red flag ever playing this game, so it was a new experience for sure. Yeah, and the safety cars just threw a spanner in the works a little bit on the strategy and whatnot. But yeah, on the last lap, I managed to get P2, and P2 is really where you want to be on the last lap because it's easy to overtake the car in front of you on the final straight. But if you're further back, then you'll just be too far back. So P2 is always the place to be. And thankfully, I didn't get overtaken by Aiden behind. He did have a look up the inside, but I was just far enough ahead. And yeah, it was just a matter of staying close enough behind Meowsy on the final lap.
Yeah, and obviously you made that brilliant move on Aiden, who I think might have just been trying to stay back himself. You made that important move going to second, and we know how important it was to be in that second place ahead of Meowsy. Pretty much we're now halfway through the season. Been really strong and consistent throughout. Obviously going into the next second half of the season, obviously I believe you are missing next week if I'm not mistaken. So
Australia. I'll be missing.
Oh,
Yeah,
missing
the
Australia.
one after next week.
So obviously, all right. So Singapore next week. How are you feeling about that? And obviously going into the last part of the season, do you feel comfortable that you can just, as long as Meowsy doesn't sort of really romp away in terms of wins, you just got to keep it consistent and bring home the podiums?
Yeah, that's what I've been trying to be doing. Just keep it consistent on the podium or P4, P5. And yeah, just don't DNF really and pick up wins here and there. But as for Singapore, I don't mind that track. I do love a street track, but I feel like Meowsy is going to be very fast because I saw one of his time trial times on the earlier patches. It was like top 10 in the world or something. So it's going to be tough to keep up with him, but I'll see what I can do next week.
Yeah, exactly. But you drove a fantastic race. But JP, anything for our race winner?
No, all said and done. I think it's just an incredible effort by yourself. Close margins across that timing line, but it's one in your favour, more points, and yeah, keep pushing along. It's going to be a close one.
Yeah, alright, thanks guys.
Alright, fantastic result from Websy in our championship lead, extending his lead. Before we go, JP, we'll just quickly have a look at this. If I've got it right, it's got upside down. Rotate that, because we'll just have a quick look at what these guys saw in terms of the crash.
Making me get Twitch up, hang on.
And if it wants to get me the right way, it doesn't, because it wants to be a bit of a pain in the ass. But obviously
Every viewer, just turn your phone sideways. If you're watching on a TV screen, just pick your TV up and turn it sideways.
No, that's just what happens. But obviously, you can sort of see there. If you can, obviously, let it be. And if you
Okay,
saw that
the incident's been
go
cleared.
to the
Let's get
left,
back up to racing
and
speed. Come on.
Yeah, that was just let it be. Just getting 3 cars, but as I've sort of seen with a couple of the other footage, that it was just clearly someone in front of that train having damage, and obviously the guys behind maybe just trying to obviously keep their own momentum through, but just with the train there, just didn't quite work out, unfortunately, for the guys. As hang on, I think I might have a proper one.
What did Lil Sheldon just send you?
I think he might have just sent me one.
Yep.
That's right. We'll put it in the Discord anyway. But yeah, it was definitely an exciting race. Obviously, bit of carnage, but that's what we like, and I think that's what we sort of expected around Baku. But Websy, Meowsy, and Aiden, as you can see on your screen, were your podium getters. JP, driver of the day. It's got to be tough, but I think I have to give it to Letter P. As I said, Tier 2 jumping up to Tier 1, and he avoided all the chaos, finishing in P5, I believe, starting P16. So that's 11 spot gain. So I think Letter P has to be driver of the day for this afternoon's race.
It was rather that or a specific driver who's driving with a frag. But it was realistically going to be close between a few other drivers taking DOT push you out. But 11 positions is nothing. How tight and close it is with really your own overtaking opportunity being found at that long main / pit straight, and obviously the straight out of the exit of turn 2. And DOTD goes in the favour.
Yeah, exactly right. But yeah, big congratulations to Letter P. Great result for him tonight, and thank you everyone for watching. JP, thank you very much for joining me in the comms box. Apologies for
Pleasure as always.
Apologies for the couple of little technical issues. We'll obviously get them sorted for next week. But yeah, great to have you in the comms box as always.
Yep, pleasure as always. Never any real complaints commentating with yourself. It's always pleasure. Well, and always love the support that everyone shows, both us as commentators and all the drivers on the field. This community is amazing, one of the best in the world.
Yeah, exactly right. So, again, a big thank you. That will sign us off for round 10 at Baku. As you can see, we are off to another street circuit. It is Singapore 20th to the 22nd of September, so next weekend. That all starts Friday night with tier number 3 on Friday night, 8 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, as usual. So, as I said, if we avoided the carnage for the most part, except for tonight. But Singapore, we know how tricky of a street circuit that is, and if a little bit of weather likes to come and play a part of it, you never know. Might see a bit of an interesting couple of races there. But Singapore always hard to overtake, but definitely some of these drivers know how to pull off some fantastic moves. So waiting to see how they go. But he's been JB. I've been Scotty. Thank you very much for your company this weekend. We'll see you Friday night for Tier 3 at Singapore. So we'll catch you then.
Cheers.